Higher.
Ew.
Hirach.
Longer. Faster.
Cyflymach.
Gwrando.
Listen.
Engage. Cysylltu.
Cynrychioli.
Represent.
So it's been an interesting year from a development and participation perspective. Towards the end of the affiliation year, the Welsh Athletics membership exceeded 13,500 for the first time across over 110 affiliated clubs, which was a real milestone for us. And this year, membership is tracking on over 70% as a year-on-year comparison. I've got to say, the way that the clubs have responded to the challenges that COVID has presented has been truly inspirational. I've said it time and time again. We've seen the clubs and groups across Wales responding, innovating, engaging with their members, and the activity has been inspirational. I think rather than drive us apart, some of the restrictions, especially during lockdown and what we continue to face now, brought everybody together and brought the athletics community of Wales even closer to support each other through these challenging times. We used the Support Your Club hashtag to showcase some of the great work that clubs and groups across Wales we're currently doing and continue to do. And we ran a series of workshops. So a big thank you to all of the staff that were involved in pulling the content of those workshops together. I know the engagement has been really positive. I think throughout this year, we've also sort of progressed with our physical literacy offer, so starting blocks, and we're going to move forward with that and formally launch it in the coming weeks to help us engage with a new audience. We've also seen some great progress across some of the facilities in Wales with new facilities and upgrades taking place in Carmarthen and Newport. We've had new facilities open in Bryn Cylenog School, the wonderful facility in Clydach Vale. And hopefully shortly there'll be a new facility established in Caerphilly, which will be a real big boost to the area. Talking of webinars and some of the engagement that we've had from a coach development perspective, the Stay Involved webinar series was absolutely fantastic and continues to deliver. At the time, we had sort of 30 webinars with over 1,000 attendees engaging, which is sort of unprecedented levels of engagement, and big hats off to the coaching team and the staff behind that, because that has been a real game changer for us and will continue to be so moving forward. From a formal qualifications perspective, it's been a bit of a challenge, and we've worked closely with British Athletics to bring new qualifications or new format of qualifications in, including e-learning, virtual learning environments, and hopefully soon we'll be back to face-to-face engagement. I think from a Run Wales perspective and a participation perspective, it's been a fairly positive year as well. We've seen an increase in the number of running groups registered with the Run Wales programme. The big social run that was launched last year has gone from strength to strength, and although they haven't been able to sort of meet during lockdown, we have had 2 virtual big social runs. So the big social run is not to be deterred, and they've taken place with great levels of uptake. And then earlier in July, we launched Club Run Wales, the virtual running club open to adults of any age or ability, and it was designed for those that haven't got access to sort of local affiliated running club but want to be part of a thriving community of like-minded runners. So it's been a real sort of turbulent year from a development perspective. There's so many positives to take forward, and the way that clubs and groups have responded has, as I said, been absolutely amazing. And we've seen clubs innovate, we've seen clubs engage, we've seen clubs come together and unite, which has been a real boost for the sport. In terms of how the team has responded, from a development department perspective, it's been a bit of a challenging one and a difficult one. We're lucky enough to be blessed with so many dedicated and motivated staff. That goes right across the department. Many of the staff were furloughed during the lockdown period, and whilst everybody understood the reasons for taking advantage of that scheme, I think many of them wanted still to be part of activities, and managing some of that process has been a bit of a challenge, and sort of keeping the levels of engagement has been a challenge. For those that remained, that weren't part of the furlough scheme, again, the dedication and the amount that was being produced was absolutely amazing. I think throughout my time at Welsh Athletics, the way the staff team has approached things, the way the staff team has come together on this one team approach has never been more evident.
Looking back to the autumn and winter of 2019, our road and cross-country seasons were kicked off with the ever-growing flagship events of the Cardiff University Cardiff Half Marathon and the Cardiff Cross Challenge. The half marathon took place with the largest field ever, with over 20,000 finishers for the first time on Welsh soil. Just a week later, the Cardiff Cross Challenge attracted its usual high-quality fields, and those present on the day were treated to Welsh victories in both the senior women's and under-20 men's race from Charlotte Arter and Matthew Willis, respectively. 2019 saw the Welsh Interregional Cross Country combine with the Inter-Schools Cross Country at Brecon for the first time. And the event proved popular with both athletes and spectators due to the heightened competition across all races and a slightly compacted course, allowing accessibility to more parts of the course for supporters. The Welsh Cross Country Championships returned to Pembrey once again, and the weather conditions added another challenge to the otherwise flat and fast course, with the likes of James Hunt, Ossian Perrin, Melanie Wilkins and Samia Jones all featuring on the podium. The British Mountain Running Championships were hosted in North Wales immediately prior to the national lockdown in March, with stringent measures in place to ensure that the event was as safe as possible. We were delighted to see endurance participation increase across the endurance disciplines, and this paved the way for a new crop of athletes to emerge amongst some of the best in the UK. Indoors, it was incredibly pleasing to see the popularity of the Junior Open and Regional Championships continue to grow, with almost 900 athletes taking part over 2 days of competition. The highlight of the indoor season was once again the Welsh Indoor Senior Championships, which saw its highest number of competitors for a number of years. We also welcome back the live streaming services of Vinco, meaning that the event was enhanced, reaching a wider audience. The events of 2020 have certainly provided a unique set of challenges to the competitions department and have required us to adapt very quickly to a new way of competition provision. Early on in the initial lockdown, we collaborated with the other home countries to ensure that a virtual running offer was available free of charge to all of our clubs and members. And a virtual sports hall offering was extended to schools over the summer, ensuring that there was an element of competitive athletics provision in the education sector during this challenging period. Officials education also moved to a digital method of delivery, and the number of courses across different disciplines have been rolled out, with more to come in the coming months. It was pleasing to be able to stage some events both on and off the track during August and September, albeit with reduced numbers and a number of restrictions to ensure that events complied to Welsh Government guidance. The delivery of these events gave us a unique opportunity to try out some different models for more athlete-centred competition, and I look forward to being able to carry the learning from these events forward into future seasons. My thanks go out to all the officials and volunteers who have supported events this year, and to the athletes for their performances in such challenging circumstances.
First of all, I think, as we all know, community AGM right now, this has been a difficult year, but there's been some good activities. So it's a pleasure, first of all, just to support the team and report back on what has been going on with the performance team. And first of all, I'd just like to thank the commitment, the dedication of the team that's been going on through this difficult period. But let's just take that back a stage further into the year and what the aim of the 12-month period's been in the performance unit. And some of the three critical stages have been to create sustainable programs. And the aim of the sustainable program has really been interlinking between the development team and then coming into the regional focused development area, the RDA, regional development activity, moving into the national development programme that underpins the future of the sport. So let's just go back and recap on some of the work that's been done there. And between myself and Chris Morse, we're looking at implementing a run, jump, throw programme that will support Hannah Petty's process just below that. And then moving into the RDP, we've then been looking at the athlete competencies and the syllabus that's going to roll out. And it's been a key feature of all the programs over the last 12 months. What we've been doing is refining that process so that it becomes a sustainable program. And eventually we hope that the regional leads, the regional council will actually be able to lead in that space going forward. At the National Development Programme continues across event groups. It's event specific. It's looking at talented athletes who are coming in onto the programme with a standard. And then it's building a level of resource around those young athletes that will help them support them through the transitional phase coming up to the senior ranks. And I think for everybody here, we would probably say that that is a key piece, one of the key areas that we've identified in Welsh athletics, that we feel strongly that there needs to be more investment in that area, particularly around transferring youngsters coming up into that key area, into the senior ranks. All the figures and all the percentages at the moment would say, not just Welsh athletics, but across all the home nations, there's a critical piece of work that needs to be done there. So aligning that with one of the key areas has been coaching development, and Zoe Brown would have led on that and has been implementing a lot of work in that space, which is ongoing, and it was ongoing pre-COVID, and it's been inside pre-COVID as well. So off the back of that, we've had a huge amount of webinars, coach education, coach engagement, which has really been crucial actually, and really good feedback about those webinars, and that's across all event groups. And probably the future going forward is a medium that we'd expect to continue to run that and see that develop going forward. Moving off the side, again, what we've also done is we've established an event group strategy group. So each event group now has a strategy team of established coaches in the community, coaches that can offer support at different stages of the pathway. We're not just talking about the high performance area here, we're talking about the futures, the development and the regional development programs as well. So that the communication and the messaging is becoming stronger, and the consistency of what we're trying to do across each stage of the program is very, very clear. So that's really the piece of work that we've been working hard on over the last 12 months to develop this sustainable program, aligned with the coaching development model, aligned with athlete competencies and coaching competencies as well. COVID has presented us with a lot of challenges, and even here talking again on the webinar environment, delivering messages is not easy to depict all the hard work and the good work that's been done across the organisation. We have seen some standout performances early on in the winter with people making the European cross, which we continue to do that. We've seen some great performances at the British Championship through difficult circumstances, and recently we've seen a glut of performances at the World Half. So performance it isn't stopping at all. What we're having to do is rethink and relook at our investment going forward, and that's what the challenges will be for the performance unit over the next 6 months to 12 months, is looking at how we prepare athletes properly, how we target the investment, and how we continue to try and bring the level of resource and support around athletes to help them prepare as best as possible. The Commonwealth Games cycle now starting to open in January 2021. We're in continual dialogue with Sport Wales, we're in continual dialogue with the Commonwealth Games Council, and obviously we're working hard all the time to be one step ahead of and try and keep an agile model moving forward with secure bubbles for athletes to train in going forward. We'll continue to develop the programs that I've just been talking about, the RDP, the NDP, the futures. We'll continue to invest in the performance athletes, in the performance environment, and try to develop a world-class resource in these difficult circumstances moving forward over this winter. I just would like to close by thanking James Williams, who's worked closely with us and supported us through this process. Adam Ratterby needs a huge mention in the work that he's done at government level, and actually understand feeding back and being a few steps ahead of things so that we can continue to keep those training environments open. So from myself and the team of the performance team, It has been a difficult year, but there's also light at the end of the tunnel in the sense that we have seen success and we've seen some exceptional performances in difficult circumstances. But I think the process of what we've been putting in place has been the priority. There's a sustainable programme now being embedded in Welsh athletics, not just built around personalities, that should run and run for the next 2 cycles, and that's the aim of what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Well, it's been a challenging year for the kind of corporate services, the back office of Welsh Athletics, as we've tried to keep the staff going, keep all our systems going through this lockdown period. And we've really focused on staff well-being, making sure that we've had regular meetings with staff, that line managers have been checking in with everybody on a weekly basis, and we've buddied everybody up so they could find someone to just stop and have a coffee and a chat with at least once a week. We've had 5 staff leave in the last 12 months and 5 staff join, so we're pretty much even on that front. Particularly just like to mention Lynn Goward, who is our finance manager, who's left, and was able to kind of manage a really smooth transition with our new finance manager, Andrew, especially as they were having to do almost daily reprojections of the finance budget as COVID hit, and obviously our income started to take a hit. So a big thank you to them for all their work this year. And I think we've been in a good place in terms of being able to keep working. Our investment in kind of the digital side of technology has really helped us from both internally in terms of staff being able to continue to work from home and externally through platforms like GoToWebinar and Zoom, for us to be able to keep engaging with our community through those different webinars, the Ask Us sessions that we've run. Our AGM is going to be online in a week or so's time. So I think, as an organisation, all the work that we've put in the background to make sure we're able to keep functioning and engaging has really sort of borne fruit during this really difficult and obviously challenging time for us. Hopefully we will be out of this soon, and next year we'll be able to continue with that kind of modernisation and helping clubs. We've done some work this year on helping some clubs go cashless, and we've got further ideas around how we can diversify and improve what we do online to really help everybody stay in touch with us.
The last 12 months has probably been the most challenging in the history of Welsh athletics. The year started so wonderfully well with the joint club and coaches conference back in the autumn of 2019. At the same time, we officially launched the new 7-year strategy for the sport of athletics in Wales. The year started with some fantastic performances across country, with the Cardiff Cross Challenge kicking off the cross-country season, hot on the back of another fantastic edition of the Cardiff Half Marathon. We went through with a fantastic winters programme, culminating in the Welsh Cross Country Championships in Pembrey Park, and a superb indoor season with a number of athletes going all the way through to competing at global championships. From a governance perspective, over the last 6 months, Welsh Athletics has worked incredibly closely with the other home countries and with UK Athletics on the back of the review the UK Sport commissioned into UK Athletics. The changes proposed have seen a much closer working relations, and during the challenges that COVID posed, on a weekly basis, the various chief execs of the 5 bodies were getting together and talking through and tackling the challenges that the sport faced. As part of the work that we've undertaken, each home country and UK Athletics has signed up to a 12-year master agreement, which will see the formation of a number of executive working groups, which will help drive forward specific aspects of the sport. It should see significant progress and growth across all aspects, including competition, officials, coach education and coach development, off-track development, licensing, as well as looking to work much closer around aspects like commercial and ethics and standards. At the same time, we all work together to commission a UK-wide safeguarding review with a number of key recommendations being put forward to each of the home countries. We'll be working hard over the next 12 months to deliver against those recommendations to make the sport as safe and as inclusive as possible for everyone to enjoy. The final key development of the changes that have been discussed over the last 6 months was the decision for Welsh Athletics to have a permanent seat at the board of UK Athletics. This means that Welsh Athletics' chair, Steve Perks, is now a board member of British Athletics, and that Welsh Athletics can contribute directly to the future of the sport across the UK. A key theme outlined in the strategy that was launched last October was the need to modernise and develop the sport, and to provide clarity for everyone involved in the sport and the role they play in developing our sport going forward. The clubs play a huge part in keeping our sport going, led by an army of hugely passionate volunteers up and down the country. It's our duty to show how we can support the clubs, support the regional councils, develop the sport, and the role that they will be playing going forward in the delivery of that strategy. A key aspect of modernisation around our clubs has to be around easing the burden on volunteers and improving our systems that enable athletes to have a much better experience, and for volunteers to be able to focus their time on the sport and not the administration element which sits behind it. The first 6 months was full of incredibly positive aspects. The last 6 months have been full of significant challenges. In the middle of March, Welsh Athletics' board took the unprecedented decision to suspend the sport, suspending all activities, with competitions being cancelled, club activities being paused, and coaches only being allowed to coach through virtual means. That suspension stayed in place until June, with competition suspended until July. Since that period, we've worked tirelessly as a staffing team to ensure that every single person in our community feels communicated and supported throughout this period. We've delivered a significant number of supportive webinars across a huge range of topics, with over 110 webinars being delivered, with over 3,000 individuals engaged with those webinars. We've seen huge levels of support and huge levels of commitment from everybody involved in our sport. And as a sport, we are proud to say that we were the first to get our elite athletes back on track, with working closely with Sport Wales and Cardiff Met University to create a biosecure bubble for our elite athletes to continue their training as they aspire towards Olympic and Commonwealth Games. We were the first sport to get domestic competition back, with a series of track and field event specific competitions being rolled out from July onwards. And we were the first sport to get face-to-face coach education back. That on the back of significant work being undertaken by our team and the other home countries to get all of our coach and officials education moved online to offer a blended approach. Our hard work has taken us so far, but it's been the passion and the dedication and the innovation shown by a huge number of volunteers in our clubs and the rest of our community, which has seen the sport really thrive during this period. Despite the challenges, we've seen huge growth in numbers of participants in the sport and a huge number of people joining the Welsh Athletics family during this period. Clubs have been incredibly innovative in the way they've approached communicating with their members and the way they've staged a number of virtual competitions and really made the sport come together as one to tackle this incredible challenge. As we enter into another 2-week lockdown period, Welsh Athletics is committed to continuing its support for its members and to continue to work closely with everyone involved in the sport to ensure that the sport can return back in the strongest possible way. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of our clubs, all of our volunteers, all of our officials who worked so tirelessly over the summer, all of our coaches who've adapted superbly to the challenges, and of course the athletes who've worked in very, very challenging and difficult circumstances. As a sport, we've been proud over the last couple of weeks to have seen the likes of Jake Smith breaking a long-standing half marathon record, to see the likes of Josh Griffiths, Charlie Holson and Natasha Cockram run 19 laps of London to claim medals at the British Marathon Championships as part of the London Marathon. These individuals have inspired us and have shown what we can achieve if we all work together. Finally, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of the staffing team at Welsh Athletics who've worked around the clock for the last 6 months solidly. It's been an incredibly challenging period for everyone, but I'm buoyed by the number of innovative ways that our sport has come together. We have to continue doing that over this next period, and I'm absolutely sure by doing that, we'll come back much stronger, a much happier place for everybody. Thank you very much. Here's to another fantastic 12 months.